bookish friends, welcome back to Amanda's Bookish Ventures, and it is day 11 of Bookmas, so my September wrap up. And September has been a wild ride with work. I traveled. If you go back, I have a vlog of my traveling, and it was so fun to be on vacation with my twin. I hope we get to do that again next year, but let's talk about what I've read so far in the month of September. Three things. It's been busy, like I said. I'm hoping to increase what I've read, but we will see. So, the first thing I read, and it was an audiobook with my twin, and I love Vanderpump Rules, and I want to read all of their memoirs. So, the first one of the series that I did was Next Level Basic by Stassi Schroeder. I want to read her second book where she got canceled with the scandal. I want to hear how she's changed, and then I want to go into her third book that she says is her favorite that she's read as a memoir. Millions of Vanderpump Rules viewers and podcast listeners know Stassi Schroeder as a major defender of the basic bitch rights. There's nothing more boring than people who take themselves seriously or think they have to be prestigious to be cool. Stassi champions the things that many of us are afraid to love publicly for the fear of being labeled basic lattes, pugs, bubbly cocktails, millennial pink, OTD, outfits of the day, obby, astrology, hot dogs, the perfect pair of Louboutins, romantic comedies, the list goes on and on. This book is for the people who's tired of pretending they'd rather see a Daniel Day-Lewis movie about sewing or read War and Peace than watch a Saw marathon or read, well, this book. In Next Level Basic, the reality star podcast queen, ranch dressing expert gives you hilarious and pointed lessons on how to have fun and celebrate yourself with exclusive stories of her own life and on the set of Vanderpump Rules, from her very public breakups to the most intimate details about her plastic surgery. Stassi shares her own personal experience with her trademark honesty and all hope you can learn something. So we listened to the podcast as we drove down for our vacation, and it was good to hear some things you wouldn't see as behind the scenes. Plus, I wasn't really into her podcast back then. Some of these stories I did not know. I gave it a 4 star. Like I said, I really want to read her next memoir about being outcast and being canceled. I want to hear she was canceled during her pregnancy during the height of COVID, and I think overall seeing how she learned from that experience will be very interesting. So, the next thing, this is a physical read, which I'm happy about. Hopefully, by the end of this, we have some more physical reads down. How Far I Go, A Twisted Tale by I might butcher this name, Kalia Kendall. What if Moana broke the heart of Tafiti? After a devastating battle with Tikai, Moana's worst fears are realized. The heart of Tafiti is in ruins, and Maui is frozen in volcanic rock, and the darkness threatens to envelop her beloved home. To make matters worse, it seems that Moana has not left the tight the fight unscathed. A curse is making its way up her arm, threatening to overtake her. Despite desperate to fix things, Moana stumbles upon an island already crumbling under the blight, and all life is gone save one sole survivor, a young woman named No. Moana is relieved to find another wayfinder, even if than the stranger's more than a little intimidating. Better still, Noel has an idea for how to fix the heart. By using the tears of Tafiti, gems infused with the goddess's essence. The catch, the tears are said to be scattered throughout the entire realm of monsters. Banding together, Moana and Noel set a course for an impossible mission to find the powerful lost tears. Will Moana be able to restore the heart amid secrets and monsters, or will the blight overtake everything she holds still? Dear, my throat is really sore. Sore. I might suck on a halls after this because I still have some filming to do. So Moana's basically the book ends right before she puts the heart into Fidi. She makes a colossal mistake. Maui gets frozen and she wakes up and she's alone. She sets on this journey and she meets now this character, another wayfinder, who has mysterious abilities and secrets that she keeps very hidden from Moana. On this journey through the monsters, they interact with monster personalities, a whole expanded cast, more lore on the story and how Maui, what happened to the islands when he pulled them to the surface, what residue the spots under the sea. So overall, even reading this book was amazing. I cried. It's 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It is a debut for this author. I met her in person with my twin in St. George, and she's writing one of the next Twisted Tales. I don't know when it's coming out. I My twin found her social media, and I think it's an old post or a hint, but she will. It could be wrong. It's a possibility she's writing the Lilo and Stitch Twisted Tale. So if she is amazing, she also has her book coming out other than Twisted Tales coming out in March that I'm hoping the link will come up soon so we could pre-order for next year. Moana had to learn a lot of lessons, like in the movie, not just to be a wayfarer, but it explored a lot of the lore, and you saw, like in the movie, you saw Te Fiti, but in this book, you got more of her perspective, and you got different cultures' perspectives, how this affected the islands, and with this blight affecting the islands, how it affected the food chains, and it's amazing. Highly recommend. 5 stars. Like I said, I cried and I was so happy with it. Sorry, I am tired. So that is what I've read so far. I'll update this wrap up when I finish something else. So I forgot one book, a manga that I read, and I forgot to tell you about it. I read Fairy Tale Volume 1. So, the wicked side of wizardry. Cute girl wizard Lucy wants to join Fairy Tale, a club for the most powerful wizards, and instead her ambitions land her in the clutch of a gang of unsavory pilots led by a dangerous magician. Her only hope is Natsu, a strange boy she happens to meet on her travels. Natsu is not your typical hero. He gets motion sickness, eats like a pig, and his best friend is a talking cat. And friends like this, is Lucy better off with her enemies? Now, I believe somehow remember reading this as a kid, or maybe it's because I watched the beginning of the anime. Lucy is a celestial wizard who can summon keys, and powerful beings come out of these, I'm believing, other worlds, and she wants to make her mark on the world they live in. She has some secrets, and she really wants to join this powerful mage group, Fairy Tale. They're unsavory, they're unique, they're amazing, they all have their own story, and from what I remember, I think I remember reading far enough to get some of her backstory. Natsumi's backstory you do get. And the talking cat, we haven't got that story. I remember Natsumi's story, but I remember Lucy's more. So I'm assuming I did read this when it was coming out in the early 2000s. I gave it a 4 star. I enjoyed it. It probably realistically is a 3 star, but I had a good time and I will continue. It was on Kindle Unlimited. If I end up buying the volumes for Kindle, great. I just had a good time and I'm glad I read it. So I will update you, like I said in the previous clip, when I've read something else. So I'm here to talk about some more books I have finished in September, and it is October now. So, oh, that was right. I'm gonna probably pause the TV, and then I'm gonna sit back. So we read. So I read Assassin Cinderella. It was a manga I got on sale. I got volume 1 and volume 2, and I gave both 3 stars. I did pre-order. Kind of wish I didn't, but I kind of want to see where the third volume goes to see if I'll continue on. We'll see. I probably won't, likely after 3 if it's not good. Let me read the description and then I'll talk to you a bit about it. Neneko is a spy blessed with cat-like charms. Her mission: seduce the ace assassin of a rival organization. Expose his weakness, the problem: she's blown her cover before learning a thing, but rather dispose of her, the target makes an indecent proposal. Marry him, take their relationship to the next level since he can't keep her hands off her body. Is the clinginess an act, or is his love genuine? So it doesn't say the target's name, which is unfortunate because either will only say one name in the description, and by the time I update this, I cannot remember said character's name. So Neneko's target is an assassin, like I said, for an enemy organization. Right, you would think maybe the manga would start off like with her meeting the target, them slowly dating. No, you start off, she's the girlfriend, and he basically tells her, I know you're from the thing. And he's in love with her. He thinks she's so cute. And from there, I did like some of the backstory, and that's why I continued on with it. Plus, I paid for both volumes, so of course I'm gonna at least read it. And I pre-ordered, and I want to see if with the marriage and the missions, if we get a reason why her target, her husband, he will eventually be her husband, turns such a problem for this enemy organization. Like, why is they against him? Why is she sent to seduce him and gain all his secrets? It was cute, like I said, 3 stars. I think it could have opened more. Like, that could have been volume 1, could have been the opening for volume 2. I feel like we needed a whole different volume, or at least flashbacks of like how she started the relationship, and then you end in the like ending chapter, couple chapters of him saying that at the end of the manga. That would have been better. The next is I read Love of the Wolf Prince, and I gave it a 4 star. Let's see if I got the tab for that, and I do. This one is sad too. You can't go against the man who will become your husband. During the ceremony, the king had ordered Alicia to marry the wolf prince, Raoul of a neighboring kingdom, a man rumored to be barbaric. On the first night, on their first night together, Raoul told with parts of her body that she never touched before. Her dazzling first experience made her burn with love. She's been born as a concubine's daughter, raised in the countryside, insulted as a worthless princess, and has never thought that she would get married. However, her mission was to give Raoul an heir. He also knew that his duty as the crown prince. However, every time he stroked her gently, her body would grow hot as his touches, at his hot touches, and she felt his true kindness. So Alicia was like a concubine's daughter, and she was sold to combine their kingdoms. The thing is, they basically, because she grew up on a rural era, had a country accent, wasn't trained to be a princess. Like she said, she probably would have ended up in a nunnery. She was bullied so bad by the maids that her father gave her given a potion so she could not speak, and it changes the circumstances because like Raoul will find letters that her father left out, and it really affects their relationship, and like they figure everything out. But I felt more like, yes, it was steamy, whatever. I felt sad that was the beginning of their, not even just their relationship, that was her story, like what she negatively had to deal with, and it would just It traumatized her so much. It affected her relationship with trust, her relationship with her husband, and a lot of things. Plus, she was not raised to be a queen. So it was another thing you get thrusted on and having to learn everything. So I gave it a 4 stars. And the interesting thing is, I think that one was just released. The next one we have The Wolf King's Passionate Courtship. And I gave that one a 4. Realistically, it could possibly be 3.5. So we have. Alright, let me read the description without. Oh, it was published on September 3rd, so these last two manga novels are definitely new. Okay, I'm not reading that. Maya, the Duke, daughter of a Duke, has come to the royal castle by the order of the King Galligan. Actually, the king is searching for a bride, but he keeps a wolf by his side who scares the other candidates away. Fiercely, Maya is allowed to serve him. She thought just being a caretaker for the wolf. But one day, when she suggests a plan because she's worried about the king's isolation, she ignites his possessiveness and this intense passion making her body melt. Wasn't she a bridal candidate, only a name? So the king has to find a replacement bride, and she's there, and Maya doesn't think she's going to be chosen. And she's very good with nobility, nobles, and it's a sweet relationship. I felt like that one could have been longer, at least gotten more with why he needed a bride. Like, you get a little hint during the first chapter, but it could have been bigger and maybe a flashbacks from his fear, the king's fear. But overall, 3.5. I just rounded it up to 4. But overall, it was a good read. I just wish I think all the manga I'm about to talk about, I wish I didn't purchase, because if it was on Kindle Unlimited, I wouldn't feel as bad as purchasing it, because I know realistically I probably won't go back and reread it. So in the next 2 volumes of a series I read in my second life, I became food for my bias. These 2 volumes were 3 stars, but they were also new releases as well. Well, maybe not as new as September, but this was released in March in English. Only if you vow to keep the secret and continue serving me your blood as food for eternity, Rui, a weak, overworked office worker, finds solace in Gilbert, her favorite character from an Atomi game, Vampire Mansion. One morning, after pushing herself too hard, her co-workers find her collapsed at the office and her body's already cold. However, when she awakens, she finds herself in a game world and even meets Gilbert. She was reborn as Fiona, the fiance who is destined to be killed by him. Fiona struggles to avoid the fate and be close to her beloved character. Begins over time her feelings shift for wanting to save the man who has never been rewarded. Thus begins the story of a cursed vampire duke and the reborn side character. I liked it. I mean, yes, it was 3 stars, but it was a lot better with the backstory of how she entered the Atomi game and how she lived her life. She already knew his secrets. She already had to make up for some of Fiona's faults and prove to. I hate when the Kindle just automatically turns off, and it just does that and it annoys me. But Gilbert, she has to make up to Gilbert, and Gilbert was isolated because of the vampirism that he has, and he's basically a weapon to destroy monsters. But then he's been isolated from other people, so she has to build bonds with him and show that she really has feelings and she wants him to get his happy ending. If it's with her or someone else, she really roots for him. So overall, it's 2 volumes. I don't think there's a third, and even if there is a third, I most likely will not be buying it. But it was good. I enjoyed these two more story wise and plot wise than the other ones I talked about. Then I read Sister Wives, a memoir of faith, family, and finding freedom. And if you've watched the sorry, if you watch the TLC's Sister Wives star, like Sister Wives show, this is from one of the wives, ex-wives. Christine Brown Woolley has always dreamed of having a picture perfect family, beautiful children, an adoring husband, and of course a sisterhood of wives to share with him. Raised in Utah, by practicing polygamous, Christine knew her life was less than normal, but that didn't stop her from loving the full house of her childhood any less. Becoming the third Cody Brown's third wife in 1994, Christine found the big happy family she hoped for. When TLC's hit show Sister Wives premiered in 2010, Christine knew it was her chance to shine a light on the brighter side of polygamy, the helping hands, the lively discussions, their unmatched devotion of each other, but the cameras also revealed a much darker truth. Now, in this all candid tell all, Christine shares for the first time the journey that led her away from polygamy and the bold path she's carving to live apart from all she's ever known. Moving, genuine, and insightful. This is a powerful tour de force of Christine's journey toward and beyond her time in the spotlight as a sister wife. So I watched The Sister when it came out in the early 2000s. I live in Utah and I was fascinated because, like, you hear about the where they marry the child brides, but you don't hear much about the adult women marrying and sharing the same husband. It was a scandal because Christine talks a lot about the show of why they hid in this such fear. If you watch the first two seasons where they flee from Utah and they discuss, like, if we're going to be a family, we have to go or we're going to be separated, because her grandfather's experience, who was a prophet in the church, did become separate from his wives and his children for so many years because of the law. So it talked about a lot of her childhood, her memories of her grandfather, and it talked about her relationship with Cody and the sister wives and the other children. It was amazing because there's a lot of things she will even say there's a lot of things we didn't show the camera, and the things that she didn't show the camera about how she struggled with addiction, how once they moved into the cul-de-sac, that now the other, because the other wives, when they first got the rentals in Vegas, did not see that Cody Brown was spending all his time with Robin, but she lived down the street from Robin, so she saw that he was always there, and how once the cul-de-sacs were built is when the other wives started to notice where he truly spent his time. She talked about when the relationships were good with her sister wives, when they were bad, and where they currently are. It talked about so much, and I will always support Christine Brown Woolley, and I will support Janelle, and I'll support them in all what they do if I can. But the memoirs, I'm hoping Janelle writes one. I know Mary's most likely to get one, and I don't know if I'll read it because of other things, but I like Mary now. She's happier, she's without Cody, she's living her own life, and she really truthfully has deserved that since the beginning, since Robin. That overall, I like cried. There were so many times because I was listening to the audiobook and I listened to it during my breaks and my lunches at work, and it was amazing. And I'm hopefully, if Janelle does write a book, I think I'll listen to Janelle's because I like memoirs as an audiobook. I have read memoirs as a regular book as well, but I'm not as connected as when the author reads their memoir. After that, so I read Time Stranger Kyoko, volume 1 and 2, and I did finish volume 3 in October, like around October 1st. So that will go in the separate vlog or separate wrap up. But that was 5 stars, and it's only 3 volumes, and it's from my when I was young reader, and it's one of my favorite manga series. Kyoko Suma is the princess of Earth in the 30th century. She lives among the commoners, unwilling to reveal her true identity and ascend the throne. The king will allow Kyoko to live as she pleases if she could revive her twin sister Yui, who has been trapped in time since birth. As Kyoko's 16th birthday approaches, the crowds are rioting while she refuses to present herself to her subjects. But in order to revive Yui, Kyoko must find 12 holy stones and 12 telepaths to move the clock that has stopped time for her sister. So Kyoko has basically had the best of both worlds of being a princess because she went to the public system. That's why she never, even though the public's rioting because they don't think she's good, she's never revealed her kindness or her appearance. So there's bad rumors about her, but she was able to develop real relationships with commoners and see how the tribes worked and how normal people live their lives. And she does eventually show who she is, but to revive her sister that she's missed since birth, she goes on a quest and meets different cultures, develops relationships and friendships. It's very old school manga of the time, but it's sentimental, so they were all 5 stars. Sorry to get cut off. So we have Unbirthday, and so the book I read after that was the second volume of Kyoko, but we already Time Stranger Kyoko, but this was the last book, and I only managed to read 2 physical books in the month of September. What if Alice was in peril, or what if Wonderland was in peril? And Alice was very, very late. Alice is different from other 18-year-old girl ladies in Victorian Kexford, which is perfectly fine with her. She rather spend her golden afternoons taking pictures with her trusty camera, chatting with her outrageous aunt, Vivian, or visiting children in the square than receiving visitors or doing embroidery. Thank you very much. She's also very interested in learning more about the young lawyer she just met, but only because he seems rather curious, not because he's rosy cheeked and charming. But when Alice develops the latest photographs of her neighbors, strangely familiar faces appear instead. The Queen of Hearts, the Mad Hatter, even the Caterpillar. There's something quite off about them, even for Wonderland creatures, and her self-portrait. And in her self-portrait, Alice finds the most disturbing image of them all, an imprisoned and injured dark-haired girl begging for Alice's help. Returning to the place of nonsense from her childhood, Alice finds herself on a mission to stop the Queen of Hearts' mad military march across Wonderland and to find in her place both worlds, but will she be able to do it before the end of time? So the Twisted Tale series, like I said, twists the original story. And it was interesting to see Alice as an adult because you in the movie you saw a couple scenes with her sister. We meet her father and her mother, and we see the relationship she has, and we have this aunt who is a unwedded woman in Victorian England, and basically she gets flack about that, and her brother and her sister-in-law worries about her and her influences on Alice, but she was a very good influence because Alice, after she stopped visiting Wonderland, would break into people's yards, houses to find little entries. And so instead of like her getting hurt and wandering off, her aunt gave her a camera, which developed her taking her photos during the day and then going after to develop the photos with her aunt. And then she gets to interact with a lot more people than she normally a normal noble lady wouldn't have if she didn't have those interactions. So her sister's the not prom, proper and prim lady, and Alice is wild. So while her sister is trying to fight for Alice to have a noble husband and a place in society, doesn't really care for that. She doesn't know if she wants to get married. She meets this lawyer, Katz. I think Katz is his last name. Let me see what his first name is because it's going to drive me crazy because I just finished it. But it's been about almost a week since I finished it. So mostly she calls him Katz, but Yeah, so Cats. I know he has a proper name, but majority of the book she just calls him Cats. So Alice has a crush on him, but she doesn't quite know what she wants. She develops both different relationships with the Mad Hatter and everyone else that she grew up because she's an adult. She has basically she's not the, as they call her, the empty-headed girl. She's grown, she's from a proper society, but it struggles when she goes to help save the girl in that image and help save the Mad Hatter and her friends from the Queen of Hearts. That she's not the girl she was, but then her being gone from Wonderland 11 years has changed a lot of things, and the characters have suffered from the Queen's March. So it is amazing, and I cried. Moana and Allison, these two twisted tales, the physical reads I read this month, couldn't stop crying. From as if you watched Moana's vlog, I cried, cried, cried. I should have filmed me crying for the twisted tale, but I was crying for Alice's. I cried and then I started laughing and I started crying again, which was perfect. So that is all the books I have read in the month of September, which turned out to be 14 things, which was a lot more than I thought I was going to read, especially with traveling in Aurelium. Total pages we read 2,785. So that is it for this day of Bookmas, day 11. I'll see you tomorrow for day 12.